Today we will be traveling to the very southern region of Egypt known as Abu Simbel to examine the massive temples of Ramses II and his beloved bride Nefertiti. These temples, unlike any other in Egypt, are truly stupendous in size and scale. They are cut into the solid rock of the hillside with which they reside, and are quite unique related to other temples created in Egypt. Come along as we examine these wondrous structures in southern Egypt at Abu Simbel. Ramses II was born a civilian. His grandfather, Ramses I, was a vizier and military officer during the reign of Pharaoh Horemheb, who appointed Ramses I as his successor. Ramses II was approximately 11 years old at the time of his grandfather's accession. Ramses II as a child was embraced by Haron after Ramses I died. His son, Seti I, became king, who designated his son Ramses II as Egypt's prince regent. Ramses II was approximately 14 years of age at the time. For the early part of his reign, he focused on building cities, temples, and monuments. After establishing the city of Pi-Ramesses in the Nile Delta, he designated it as Egypt's new capital and used it as the main staging point for his campaigns in Syria. He is also widely considered one of ancient Egypt's most successful warrior pharaohs, conducting no fewer than 15 military campaigns, all resulting in victories, excluding the Battle of Kadesh, generally considered a stalemate. Ramses II, commonly known as Ramses the Great, was a pharaoh in Egypt during the 19th dynasty. He is often regarded as the greatest, most celebrated, and most powerful pharaoh of the New Kingdom, which itself was the most powerful period of ancient Egypt. Ramses led several military expeditions into the Levant, where he reasserted Egyptian control over Canaan and Phoenicia. He also led a number of expeditions into Nubia, all commemorated in inscriptions at Beit el-Wali and Gerf Hussein. Estimates of his age at death vary, although 90 or 91 is considered to be the most likely figure. Upon his death, he was buried in a tomb, KV7, in the Valley of the Kings. His body was later moved to the royal cache, where it was discovered by archaeologists in 1881. Ramses' mummy is now on display at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, located in the city of Cairo. Ramses II was, amongst other things, a builder, and he was also known for putting his name and cartouche on buildings and structures that he had no part in building. Reminiscent of some current real estate moguls who feel the need to plaster their name all over buildings they did not build. He would erase motifs from buildings and have his carvings replace them, and ensured that his carvings were cut in quite deep, so that later pharaohs could not eradicate his carvings like he had done himself. He was reputed to have fathered as many as 200 children during his life, and he had many, many wives, but Nefertiti was, without doubt, his main squeeze, and at the site known as Abu Simbel, which certainly is his biggest promotional building effort. He built a second temple honoring his great queen Nefertiti, and in both of these structures he sought to elevate himself above the level of a mere mortal up to the level of a deity or even a living god. It was, more than anything else, a war memorial celebrating the conquest in Nubia, and the walls and columns depict various battle scenes, with him guiding his war chariot to victory and the submission of the peoples of Nubia. He spent a lot of time away from his capital fighting wars, and it was Queen Nefertiti who administered the kingdom in his absence. And she must have done a very good job at that administration, because her temple illustrates much of her work as administrator of the kingdom, and there is nary a mention of any of the other many wives he had during his life, nor any mention at all of any of his many, many children. These temples, unlike his other works at sites like Luxor or Ramesseum, were cut into the solid rock, and the workers must have had quite a difficult task removing all of the stone necessary for the interior open spaces required for these temples and the adjoining carved motifs depicting his battles. He was responsible for many more structures and an entirely new capital city named Pi-Ramesses when he moved the capital from Thebes. Some suggest this was done so he could be closer to his territories in Canaan and Syria, and it was dominated by huge temples and a vast residential palace, complete with its own zoo. The colossal feet of the statue of Ramses are almost all that remains above ground today. The rest is buried in the fields of the area, lost to time and buried by the elements. The legacy of Ramses II endures to this very day as one of, if not the greatest pharaoh Egypt ever had. Heartfelt thanks goes out to all of you for traveling along with us on this tale of mystery and discovery. Please be sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. This helps us a great deal. This is Professor Poppycock, signing off.